In this video, we're going to talk about the 3 things you want to be doing to get your handstands in as little as 10 minutes per day without losing your mind. Hey guys, this is Vincent here and welcome to the Flow Work Academy channel.
I talk for a reason, sing for a reason. Some may say I lost my mind.
Now you must have heard this quote that says insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Apparently, Einstein never quite said that. It is one of these quotes which are misattributed. It doesn't quite matter because when it comes to handstands, people are usually insane. And it's not your fault. I mean, you throw yourself at the wall, you have some marginal success, sometimes even maybe you float once in a blue moon, you tuck your ribs in, you squeeze your bum, you point your feet. But in the grand scheme of things, nothing really happens. You don't quite break through that plateau. You still can't reach the wall at all, or can't reach the wall softly enough for you to be able to balance and hope one day that you won't need that wall anymore. Maybe you have some success, but you can't seem to be able to make this freestanding handstand quite consistent yet, but you keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping it will click, and that's insanity. The thing that's really happening is that maybe along the way you haven't grasped the foundation that actually matters to you. And the problem is here, when we have flimsy foundations, when we have fragile foundations, then we cannot build a rock solid handstand on top of that. And so what do? Instead of stepping back, taking a pause, reflecting on what's happening, assessing our progress or lack thereof, making sure that every foundation is super solid, we keep doing the same. And that, my friends, is the definition of insanity. Now, if this rings a bell, here come 3 tips that will allow you to practice smarter and get your handstands in less time. First, balance isn't alignment. It is very tempting when you practice with the wall. Once you can reach that wall consistently, it is very tempting to start doing everything at once, to try to think of everything you're supposed to do in a handstand and try to tick all these boxes at the same time. And after all, this is what handstands are like. A big list of ingredients, and if you forget one of these, the whole meal is wasted. Amongst these ingredients, we have point your toes, extend your knees, open the shoulders, suck the ribs in, point your toes, open the shoulders more, elevate your scapula, extend your elbows, push on your fingers, squeeze your bum, open the shoulders, breathe more, an endless list of things. And this is the caveat of most classes out there, of most teaching methods out there. In this list, they fail to make the distinction which is essential between what is really important, as in you will never hold a handstand without that, and what is more cosmetic, as in you will never hold a perfectly straight handstand that is Instagram worthy without that. The next problem that comes out of that is that we fail to distinguish alignment cues from balancing cues. And so if you have ever been in a handstand, holding it for a few seconds without the wall, and corrected your line just to fall out of it, this is exactly what happened. You did what you thought you had to do, and that precipitated your fall. If you've ever lost your handstands trying to correct it because you felt, let's say, arched, that's exactly what happened. And so here's my advice to you. Do not try to hold your longest handstand, your most consistent handstands with the best line ever. Go back to your checklist and start making the distinction between what really matters mechanically, structurally, and the cues which are meant for you to have a better handstand, but not necessarily something that is more consistent. Go back to your list and start selecting the cues, and only these which are likely to maximize your success rate in terms of consistency and hold duration. I also advise you to just switch off that judgmental voice in your head. When you practice consistency at a stage of your journey where you cannot just yet hold a handstand on demand, you shouldn't care so much about alignment. Not to say that alignment doesn't matter, but rather you want to alternate sessions in which alignment is the priority and sessions in which holding it at all cost is the priority. In other words, dedicate some sessions, if not most of them, to being able to hold a handstand in suboptimal positions, and the rest of them to feeling better and better what being straight means. The day you can hold on demand a 30-second consistent handstand, yes, it will be time to merge and to marry the alignment cues and the balancing cues. Before that, more likely than not, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Advice number 2. 1 step backwards, 2 steps forward. This is probably the one mistake I have made the most, and it has costed me so many months of practice. Maybe it's ego, maybe I didn't know any better, but it basically consists in working at the edge of our skill capacity, because we believe that this is where growth and progress happens. So let's take an example. Let's say that you can float once every 10 times without the wall for a few seconds. You may start thinking, well, it happened once, so I shouldn't really need that wall anymore. And so instead of giving the time to our body and our nervous system to digest this and understand why you are successful once every 10 reps, instead of taking the time to put more and more items of that checklist on autopilot, instead of refining the weak links in our handstands, cementing the foundations of our handstands to maximize our success rate, pretty much instead of being smart about the way we train, we just briefly warm up the wrists. We roll our eyes up whenever the teacher asks us to go back to the wall. That's a bit too beginner for me. And we skip what I call the main meal and go straight for dessert. If this worked, you would know. Instead, here's my invitation. Ask yourself, what is my personal best? What is the thing in handstands that I can achieve when really I'm having a good day? Take a few seconds, be proud of it. It can be something as simple as being able to load your wrists, kicking up in a handstand and coming back down softly, even if you can't touch that wall yet. It can be being able to do nice things against the wall, but not being quite able to do them without the wall yet, because yes, it's a bit scary. It can even be being able to freestand, only not as long or in as straight a line as desired. Just be proud of it. And then understand that whatever your personal best is, you need mainly to be working on regressions of that. This idea of regression comes from the word of strength training. This is just how they program everything, and it just makes sense if you want to progress fast. A regression should feel doable, if not easy. Whenever something starts feeling easy in handstands, you should stick with it, not move on to the next hard thing. Stick with what feels easier and easier. Make it perfect. And then yes, start tweaking the ratio, having a bit more dessert as you progress and a bit less of the main meal. But don't skip the foundation. And your foundations are the regressions of what you can do in a good day, because only these will increase your odds at actually improving your handstands. Third advice, getting rid of the macro disruptions. You may already know that handstands are about somehow using our fingers properly. And if you're not quite sure what the fingers are supposed to be doing, I'm going to put a link in the description for you to have a look at that. What you may not know, however, is that trying to use our fingers to balance is absolutely impossible as long as our body keeps fidgeting, keeps moving in the air every time we kick up. I like to describe the fingers for you to understand as extremely picky workers who will only work under the best circumstances. And they will not hesitate to go on strike every time their working environment is not perfect. Just picture that stereotype about French workers. Exactly that. The moment your body starts moving in the air when you are on your hands, because you cannot yet exert full control over it, or because your perception of your counterweights, where are my legs, where is my pelvis, is not perfect yet, your fingers will throw in the towel and you will invariably come back down to the floor. And this brings us back to the point number 2. There is an order in which we should learn things. You want to get used to something first, then improve it, refine it, and then automate it. And so before you start bringing too much attention on what your fingers are supposed to be doing and how and when, make sure that the factory in which the workers work is in order. This means a few things. Having a crystal clear understanding of the biomechanics of the shape you're trying to achieve. A tuck is not a straddle, it's not a straight handstand. Having a fail-safe mechanism in place that you can rely on if you are going too far in your handstand. Having good body tension to be able to hold that shape that you fought so hard and trained so hard to ingrain in your body and to hold, so that your fingers can do something about it and keep it there. I hope this is helpful. If this resonates, if this is you, if you want to find out more about how you can train handstands a bit more smartly and get more results in less time, just check out the links below. As you understood, training handstands as an adult requires a wee bit of analyzing, maybe training less, but in a smarter way. Doing shorter but more efficient, more to the point, more laser-focused sessions will yield more benefits than training for hours aimlessly, praying to the gods of inversions for your handstands to come to you one day. If that makes sense, and if you have any question about your handstands, then head to the forum, the link is below.